What's going on, everybody? This is John Jake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with week 11 action here of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that next mod as we are here week number 11 already here in this third season of the FCS Dynasty. We got some great action all around the league, so you're going to want to stay for this whole episode, man. And so for that, man, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have to be brand new, as we will jump into this first game. South Carolina State taking on the #1 team in the land, New Hampshire, but things are still tight after 1 quarter of play, but we might have a game-breaking play here as New Hampshire gets a fumble recovery. And so New Hampshire, they're going to start this drive out in the red zone. We'll see if Carlos Montoya can finish the drive, and sure enough, he does. He finds a wide, butt naked open man in the end zone. Touchdown, Wildcats. And New Hampshire takes a 10-3 lead as they were trying to go one-on-one on the outside. And that's going to be barbecue chicken for this quarterback. As now, South Carolina State down by a touchdown themselves. We'll see if they can respond here. We got a throw down the right-hand side. It ends up being cut, and now he's gonna take it the distance as well. Touchdown, Bulldogs. And all of a sudden, this game gets very interesting. #1 in the country going to be put on high alert now. As we jump into the fourth quarter of action here, South Carolina State down by a field goal as McDougal tries to get rid of the football as he was getting sacked, but it falls in the hands of Eric Taylor. So just a bad break for the Bulldogs here of South Carolina State as McDougal was trying to get rid of that football. It bounces around a little bit, and then a defensive lineman, of course, is going to make a play on that football. And Montoya is going to capitalize there as well. Gonna take it all the way into the end zone. It's another touchdown for New Hampshire as they start to open things up here a little bit in the fourth quarter. It's now 20-10 being the score. And South Carolina State really needs to get something going here. They got that one really long pass play, but other than that, they've been shut down on offense here. So a big drive here from McDougal, who throws it over the middle, and it's going to be intercepted. So a host of turnovers here in the second half could ultimately spell their doom here at the end of the day. You absolutely hate to see it. That time, McDougal, just telepath this throw a little bit, and that's just an easy turnover for the Wildcats as Carlos Montoya, he's going to finish this game off. He's going to throw one more touchdown into the end zone. So it ends up being 3 passing touchdowns on the game for Carlos Montoya. Pretty solid performance for him today. And New Hampshire continues its unbeaten streak here in year number 3. They had a disappointing time in year number 2, but they bounced back, and they're going to win this game. Final score being 27-10 being that final score. So New Hampshire, they go ahead, they remain undefeated, while South Carolina State, they still have a chance to make it to the playoffs. They do need to take care of business in their final game of the season if they want to put themselves in a position to go to the playoffs as an at-large bid. So we go to another nationally televised game. This time we got Georgia Southern, the #6 team in the country, taking on the unranked Southeastern Lions. Now, Southeastern pretty close to getting ranked at the top 25. They come in with a national ranking of 31, so they can pull an big-time upset here at home against this Georgia Southern squad. That could certainly pole vault them inside the top 25, but no easy task, of course. Georgia Southern, they are a very talented football team, and that's going to be made evident here early on as Ikeda Woods has one man left to beat, spins away, hurdles over a defender. And that is what Ikeda Woods does, man. He is him, and he is going to take it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. And early on, you could hear a squirrel fart already as Ikeda Woods was able to get away from that final defender. He was the final line of defense there. And Georgia Southern is going to take a quick 7-0 lead. So see what Southeastern has in store, trying to respond quickly. Does get it out to the flat though, and sure enough, Southeastern is going to get a touchdown on the board. That's Drew Brown that made that throw. So Southeastern, at the very least, they're being very competitive in this game, but really a tough time here. Who is going to stop Ikeda Woods? I don't know what the answer is. Right now, they just seem completely unprepared to deal with Ikeda Woods right now, as the junior quarterback follows his blockers, makes a man miss as well, and, you know, he's off to the races after that. So Ikeda Woods already 2 rushing touchdowns. Not going to make it a third, at least not yet, but Miniachi is going to get involved in this game, and he will also go ahead and find his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. Just big run after big run. If Southeastern's going to win this game, not only is it going to be a shootout probably, but you've got to find a way to get stops on defense. Already down by 2 scores as Brown looks to the right-hand side, tries to get it out. He gets it to his receiver, actually. Gets it down the sideline, and it's going to be in the end zone there. Touchdown, Southeastern. We got ourselves a ball game all of a sudden. How about throwing it in a window? There was not much space there on the outside. Even had the out of bounds barrier to help with the defense there, but does not help. And now just a 1 possession game as Woods takes it to the outside once again. This time does end up being brought down, so it's not a touchdown, but Ikeda Woods 30 yards a carry right now. Just not heard of. You don't hear anything like this before, especially to start a football game. We'll see if he adds on to that as Woods. He's going to run to the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. That's going to be a 24-yard touchdown run. So ironically, that's going to bring his yards per carry down a notch. But I'm sure he's not going to be complaining much at all. Wide but naked hole that he ran through there. And it's a 28-14 ball game. Later on in the second quarter, Southeastern, they go 3 and out. They have to punt this football away. They get it in the hands of Albert Miniachi, who takes it down the sideline, and he is going to be, no, he almost gets wrapped up there, but stiff arms the defender. That's another touchdown for Georgia Southern, and they managed to find a way to put up 35 points here in the first half. It's been an incredible half of football, and that's not limited to, you know, just one half of play. Second half arguably is a little bit better. We see Ikeda Woods pitch the football that time around. Get it to the backup tailback, Jamal Williams. And Williams takes care of business as well. Just Southeastern just does not have the athletes on defense to keep up with this Georgia Southern offense. And Southeastern, they're starting to fall apart offensively as well. So definitely a danger zone kind of situation here, as you know, this game could definitely get out of hand very fast. And it looks like it's going to, as Albert Miniachi gets another kick return for a touchdown. Georgia Southern now making it 49-14 being the score. And here we go, late in the third quarter, looking for the 50 burger. Is he going to get it? Woods, one man with the beat. He gets tripped up inside the 5-yard line by Ikeda Woods. Nearly 250 yards on the ground right now. Absolutely insane. As now, goal line situation. Woods looking for the 50 burger. He's going to get it. It's yet another touchdown for this Georgia Southern football team. And that is going to be barbecue chicken here for sure. As Georgia Southern, they take care of business. They beat Southeastern convincingly, winning 63-14. Being that final score. So here's to hopefully seeing another competitive game. Eastern Washington going on the road here on national television, taking on the Weber State Wildcats. Now, another team is ranked in the top 25, and Weber State is not eligible for the FCS playoffs this year due to their ongoing NCAA sanctions. But Eastern Washington, they're hanging right in there off of a strong non-conference performance that they've had in the early slate. They're ranked inside that top 35, that top 40. They're hanging around. They need to get this win against Weber State, though, as they're going to have the challenge of dealing with freshman quarterback Evelyn Thomas, one of the best quarterbacks to come out of high school last year. He's having a solid rookie campaign, and we will go ahead and see them go to work against Eastern Washington, who doesn't have their starting quarterback. Usually Carl Johnson Thousand, the sophomore, he's quarterbacking this Eastern Washington squad, but he's not there. He's actually hurt to this point. So Eastern Washington, they're going to have to find a way to win this game without their starting quarterback on the road. Big moment for Eastern Washington as well. We'll see if they're ready for the challenge, as Weber State will draw ahead here 7-3 after some nice running by Mitchell, who's going to run over multiple defenders. 3 defenders, I think he runs through on the way to the end zone. And now the Eagles are down, trying to find something on offense. Looking downfield, though, and it's going to be intercepted. That will be picked off. And Weber State, they're getting things moving on the defensive side of the ball. This is what you got to do when you're playing up against a backup quarterback. Get some pressure, get them into some exotic sets, and just make them uncomfortable, man. You know, that's advice that they should give the Cincinnati Bengals defense. But it is what it is, though, as we'll see Aveline Thomas launched his football downfield, double coverage, and still his receiver somehow manages to find a way to come down with it. You got to be kidding me right now. Absolutely incredible throw, as Aveline Thomas, you know, he got that time in the pocket. He had a tight end wide butt naked open too, but he just wanted that really big play, and he got it. So now 17-3 here, last few seconds of the first half, trying to run it into the locker room, but we do see a late fumble, and it does look like that it was picked up by Ballhawk Woods, who is a true freshman playing that cornerback position. Eastern Washington, of course, will settle for the field goal. So it makes it 17-6 at that point. But Aveline Thomas, he's just continuing to have a really excellent performance to this point. He now has over 100 yards of total offense after this throw right here, which almost goes directly to the crib as well. That's the crazy part in all of this. It will be a goal line situation there, as Weber State, they have been doing a pretty good job here in the red zone. 76% they come away with points, and you know, just to play it safe, they're going to get it to Mitchell on the toss play to the outside, and blockers, they do their job. It's another touchdown for Weber State. They go ahead and extend this lead 24-6, being your score at this point. Later on in the third quarter, another run for Mitchell, and Weber State at this point really just starting to pull away with this win. 31-6, gonna be your score right at this present moment. And it looks like Weber State, unless something crazy happens, they're gonna win this football game, and they do. So the Weber State Wildcats, they improve to, I believe it was 6-3 that I saw their record becoming. They win this game by a final score of 34-6. So Eastern Washington, they had a outside chance of making it to the FCS playoffs at this point before this game, and now that they lost 4-4, they got to play North Dakota State next week. That's not going to be easy. So unless Eastern Washington wins their next 3 games, they're not going to be in the FCS playoffs once again. Good win for the Wildcats, though. Speaking of FCS playoff implications, we got a Big 12 battle. More specifically in that Big 12 North Division, we got Jackson State going on the road to take on the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Now, neither team is really in the running to make it to an at-large bid, but they're both in play to go ahead and fight for that divisional title. And if Western Carolina or Texas Southern, they make it on the other end for that conference championship, that means whoever wins that North Division, they get the automatic berth to the FCS playoffs, regardless of what happens in that conference championship game. So big game here for both teams, and we jump into that second quarter of action. Jackson State, they do have the early lead. It's just 3-0 as of right now, but we see a huge return here. Someone managing to find a way to get out of all of that traffic, and that is going to go into the end zone. Touchdown Tigers, as Brandon Hudson is going to take it to the crib. That'll help open things up a little bit. 10-0 being your score as of right now, as Arkansas Pine Bluff trying to make some things shake, but you know, unfortunately, we do see a fumble in Jackson State. They are going to take over. That was the fullback that was going to get the carry there. And the fullback, just not as sure-handed. So, sets up another Jackson State possession here. Ryan Morris looking for the touchdown. He's going to get that touchdown as he finds Brandon Hudson in the back of the end zone. Tigers really establishing a nice early lead here. 17-0 being your score now. As Niall Matthews trying to respond. He was trying to throw it out to Doug Rose, the sophomore running back. He was open on that wheel route, but just did not put enough on that football. It ends up being underthrown, and that will lead to a Jackson State interception. It was already been a dominant affair for the Tigers. They got to get a stand on defense. This is huge for Arkansas Pine Bluff. Morris dropping back, looking with 130 left to play, looks for the end zone. It's intercepted, tries to take it out, but might have been a little bit better off taking the knee and getting it to the 20-yard line outright. But that was a huge play that Pine Bluff was looking for. Looks like trying to target Amande Nandaye, the custom prospect. So now Arkansas Pine Bluff takes back over. Niall Matthews trying to make sure that he gets some points on the board before halftime. And there was a really big play downfield. But of course, the football ends up being fumbled. Cannot secure it to the ground, unfortunately. And now Jackson State, once again, minute left to play, taking right back over. Morris looks down the right-hand side, gets it out to his tight end, makes one man miss, and is going to be brought down at about the 40-yard line. Nice job faking the block initially and then leaking out. Arkansas Pine Bluff definitely did not account for him. And now, threatening once again in Golden Lion territory. Morris facing an incredible blitz and absolutely gets lit up like a Christmas tree there. That's Smash Woods, who certainly smashed into that quarterback. And it forces a 2nd and long as Morris, once again, facing some pressure. This time gets the football off, gets it out to the tight end. And that tight end is going to come down and make the catch. First down for the Jackson State Tigers. Is now 1st and 10 for the 25-yard line. Morris having a solid little game so far. See if he can finish his drive. Morris looks over the middle, fires, and it's going to be incomplete. Looking for Adaye Nadier, as that is going to be broken up at the last second. And now 2nd and 10. Morris looking, only a 3-man rush. Rolls to the right, gets it to the tight end, who almost manages to punch that thing into the end zone. They will be marked down at the 1-yard line. And Jackson State has been great in the red zone. 2 for 2 so far. How about we make it 3 for 3, as that is going to be another touchdown for the Jackson State Tigers. So a great first half for Jackson State. It's 24-0 at halftime. But Arkansas Pine Bluff, they do receive the football to begin the second half. They need this more than anything. This could be helpful. One man left the beat as he's going to be gone. Like a girl in a country song. Touchdown. Golden Lions. And the Arkansas Pine Bluff finally going to get some points on the board. Thanks to Albert wearing that number 3. So now Arkansas Pine Bluff, they got some points on the board to work with. Can they get some stops on the other end? And sure enough, they actually do. That was Smash Woods playing in coverage, getting the interception, and then taking that thing all the way to the end zone, even doing a little bit of good old-fashioned high-stepping. While we're at it, by the way, suddenly this is a little bit of a football game right here. Now, they did go for 2 previously. They didn't get it. They settled for the extra point. But 24-13, this is looking like a more competitive game all of a sudden. I thought Jackson State might run away with it, but instead, hang on now. Arkansas Pine Bluff, they had a chance to make it a 1-possession game, and they do whiff the punt with the field goal that they settled for. So all of a sudden, just a 1-possession game here in the 4th quarter. Can Jackson State hang on, or are they going to pull an Atlanta Falcons? Here we go. Doug Rose on the outside. He's got some space. He's at the 50. No one is going to catch him. Doug Rose, certified. Him. He is him. Touchdown. Golden Lions. And they also get the 2-point conversion as well. It's all knotted up. 24 all. Jackson State trying to fight the comeback. And this will help Brian Hudson making a huge play in a timely manner when it matters the most. That is Hudson. He is him. Getting it inside the 10-yard line after a really incredible throw that we just witnessed from Ryan Morris. Later on in the drive, Jackson State, they're doing their fourth red zone opportunity. 3 for 3 so far in this one. Getting it off to the tailback. Ryan Morris hands it off and finds a crease into the end zone. Touchdown, Jackson State. And that is actually going to be their first points that they get in the second half. Will that be enough? 4:30 left to play. Matthews looking over the middle. He was trying to target Doug Rose, but it's going to be intercepted. Does Jackson State find that second gear? Is this the additional gear that they were looking for? They took a pretty big counter punch. Looks like Jackson State, they got that second gear though. We'll see if they can capitalize. Another red zone opportunity. They've been brilliant down here in this football game. Under center, it's Ryan Morris. Is it a handoff? No, it's not. Looks left. He gets it out to the receiver who fights his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Jackson State. Make that 38-24 all of a sudden. And now Arkansas Pine Bluff, they need a really big play, and they are going to need it quickly if they have any inkling of a chance to come back and win this game. Doug Rose gets the kick return. He pushes away from one defender. One man with the beat. He is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Golden Lions. And after a Jackson State free and out, suddenly it's Arkansas Pine Bluff with a chance to tie. Looks over the middle. It's the backup tight end. He's actually an offensive lineman, but he did report as eligible. That's why you do not see any flags on the play. Big time throw there by Nail Matthews. And now just for a handful of yards away actually from winning this football game. Here we go. Matthews drops back. 2nd and inches. They go play action there though. It's a sack. It's a fumble. And it's going to be recovered there by Jackson State. So it was a very spirited comeback. Don't get me wrong. But Arkansas Pine Bluff, they just could not make the plays when it mattered the most. And Jackson State, they had a little bit of a scare there in the second half. They did get outscored significantly, and that is something that they are going to have to address if they want to win this division and have any chance of winning an FCS playoff game, if they even go to the FCS playoffs, to be honest. But good win for Jackson State. It keeps them alive in that Northern Division playoff race as they will improve to 5-4. While Arkansas Pine Bluff, they will also be falling to 5-4 here within year number 3 of the FCS Dynasty. So we find ourselves halfway through week 11 action right now, and what we got going on, it is certainly electric. Let's start by looking at some of the games that we have seen in simulation, beginning with Idaho taking on Southern Utah. The Vandals do end up taking care of business, winning 35-14 to bolster their record up to 6-2 on the season. As for the defending national champions, they continue to work their way to try to get that top 8 bye to automatically move to the second round of the FCS playoffs. They beat Illinois State 45-21 in order to keep those dreams alive. Speaking of keeping those top 8 dreams alive, Akron taking on Western Illinois, and the Akron Zips win easily, winning 38-7 against the Leatherbacks of Western Illinois. As for Rice, they actually faced a little bit of a challenge in Conference USA play as Rice took on the Richmond Spiders, and the Spiders almost pulled the upset but just ran out of juice. Rice wins 24-17 to remain undefeated. As for University of Central Florida, they went on the road to take on William & Mary, and while it was a spirited fight, UCF is going to continue to remain in the top 25, winning 31-17 in conference play. Up next, we got Texas Southern going on the road to take on Mississippi Valley State. Texas Southern also having some issues, but found a way to get the win, winning 38-33 against the Delta Devils, moving up to 7-2. As for Nicholls State, they had the battle for the paddle against Texas State Bobcats out in San Marcos, Texas. It was an overtime affair, but Nicholls State eventually prevailed, winning 37-34 in overtime, and Nicholls State should remain in the top 25 as of right now. Speaking of exciting affairs in rivalry game action, Northern Arizona pulling a big upset. They beat Montana in their rivalry game. The Lumberjacks winning 35-30. Montana in serious danger of falling out of the top 25 and missing out on the FCS playoffs. As for Buffalo, they should not have any issues getting to the playoffs at this point. Now to 6-2 after a 35-14 victory over the Sycamores of Indiana State. Buffalo bolstering their record up to 6-2 as well. Speaking of bolstering records, Eastern Carolina does the same thing, although nearly losing to Northeastern. The Pirates only win by 2 points, 30-28 being your final score. As for Central Michigan, they almost take a devastating loss to Southern Illinois. The Salukis still looking for that first win this season, this time only losing by a field goal to the number 14 team in this FCS dynasty. But now we have nightfall, and the action is only going to get a little bit more intense, as now we jump in to game number 5 of this episode. We got Southeast Missouri State, the number 15 team in the nation. They are going on the road to take on the Skyhawks of Tenn-Martin. Let's take a look at the Big Ten standings right now. Southeast Missouri State is on top at the moment, but the Skyhawks, they are only 1 game back. So a win for Tenn-Martin today, that will be enough to go ahead and at least give them a tie for first place. But they got to find a way to stop Lonnie Scott. He's been having a solid year amidst the sometimes inconsistencies of the offense in general. Still a very good wide receiver. We'll see if he gets some targets today, as we have a different quarterback. Travis Johnson actually does end up getting hurt, and they try to get a little bit cute at this point. They tried to do the little halfback pass. Evan Turner, he was all over that pass, and that is going to be intercepted, picked off, and here we go now. Still no score, by the way. We'll see what this backup quarterback can do. This is a very young group of quarterbacks playing in the game right now, but they get it out to Lonnie Scott. That's what I'm talking about, baby. 39-yard reception. Just throwing it up for his receiver. Might have been a little bit late delivering him that football, but it is still a massive gain, and we will see the Red Hawks score first in this ball game. That will make it 7-0 early here, midway through the first quarter, as we got some good blocking up front. As Tenn-Martin, they were forced to go 3 and out on their next possession. So here we go. Quarterback throws it over the middle once more. Gets it to Lonnie Scott. Breaks a couple of tackles. And now he's loose. And ain't nobody going to be catching him now. Touchdown. Southeast Missouri State. And the Red Hawks are soaring early now, making it 14-0 in favor of that number 15 team in the nation. How about this? Scott breaking a couple of tackles between some hurdles, some stiff arms, and then just was a complete foot race after that. As we now jump to the Skyhawks now, trying to make something happen on offense. Looking over to the left-hand side. Does make a nice catch. He gets turned around there, and it's going to eventually be brought down. Not a very good look whatsoever for Ken Trill, who was in coverage. He was on it, but gets turned around there somehow. I don't know how that happens. Definitely embarrassing, though. And now the Skyhawks in a position to make this just a 1-possession game. Is now 1st and goal from the 4-yard line. What do they decide to do? Will they target Chris Gentry, the true sophomore? It's a running play, but look who blows it up. None other than, it looks like, Bam Bam Hendricks, who lights him up like a Christmas tree. And now it's 3rd down from the 5-yard line. They're going to try to pass it in the end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown, Southeast Missouri State. They get just enough time, and it's going to make it just a 1-score game. But then we see Southeast Missouri State get the kickoff right after that first surrender touchdown. It's Lonnie Scott. We know he's a bad man. He's making some huge plays for the Southeast Missouri State football team, as he is going to high step and dance his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Redhawks. That's going to make it over 200 yards receiving on this one. It is a 21-7 lead. Tenn-Martin, they get the kickoff as well. With Chris Gentry back there, he takes some kicks for the Skyhawks. He's going to take it out of the end zone. Breaks a tackle. He's going to go as well. Taking it all the way out, and it's going to be gone. Touchdown, Tenn-Martin. And in spite of the fact that Tenn-Martin, they have amassed just 41 yards of total offense, they are still only down by a touchdown. They're playing tough. They want to get that automatic qualifier. And that's how you do it. Target your best players. Chris Gentry again, making another big play, making it shake. Is now 1st and 10 from the 21-yard line. Here we go. Martin dropping back. Looks over to left hand side. It's deflected. And it's going to be intercepted. Paul Miller gets his hands in there at the last second. Diving play. Might have been a little bit of an ill-advised throw, but nothing you can do about it now. So the Redhawks defense holds on, and they still got the lead. 4-point game, 4th quarter. We got another quarterback in there as Lawrence Pollard. He was the backup. He's hurt. He got hurt in this game. So I don't even know. Thomas Bell, that's the guy's name. Thomas Bell. He is the 3rd-string quarterback, actually. And coming in for a huge moment. Surprised that they didn't discount that as a, illegal touching. But it must have been something that the refs missed. Sir, Skyhawks fans are not going to be too terribly excited about that. They get another touchdown on board. It's 28-17 now. 3 minutes left to play. And they're trying to run out the clock. But Tenn-Martin, they get a huge fumble there. That could get the Skyhawks back in this game. They're going to have to score on that next possession now. But we'll see what they can do. 4th and 5 from the 27-yard line. They need this 1st down to keep it going. Dropping back. Donnie Jacobs gets out to the right-hand side. It ends up being caught. And that gets to about the 48-yard line. Huge play there. Not by Chris Gentry, but by that quarterback just getting it across the outstretched arms of Kelly Russell. As now, a few plays later, it's another 3rd and long. Does Southeast Missouri State, they send the blitz? No, they don't. Donnie Jacobs, he's got some time. Rolls right. He's going to throw it at the last second, and it's going to be intercepted. Paul Miller once again gets his hands on the football, and that first one wasn't as devastating, but that second interception right there, that is going to make sure that this game is absolutely barbecue chicken there. Trying to get it out to Chris Gentry, but just overthrew him. And the Redhawks, they're going to need Travis Johnson back, the true freshman at quarterback, if they want to make a deep run. But one thing that we do know, this defense, and we saw it here as well, one of the best defensive units that we have in the entire nation. And no matter what happens on the offensive side of football, their defense, they are always going to stay in these games. At Southeast Missouri State, they improved to 6-2, while Tenn-Martin in danger of missing the FCS playoffs once again, now falling to 5-4 and need a big run in the last couple of games if they want to make that playoff appearance happen. Speaking of FCS playoff implications, we now go ahead and check in on the number 3 team in all of college football. We got James Madison going on the road here in William Price Stadium, located in Norfolk, Virginia, taking on the 4-4 Norfolk State Spartans, who have been pretty solid in conference play, but just are not on necessarily the same level as James Madison. So Norfolk State definitely are going to need an A+ performance from PJ McNair, their sophomore quarterback, if they want to beat these guys, because James Madison, they got some weapons on offense. Not only David Foreign, but also Jody Gentry, Jonathan Henderson, Brad Audrowsey. The list goes on. And Stephen Rogers, he's got a healthy set of weapons. Speaking of those weapons, how about getting BJ Bowers, one guy that I forgot to talk about, as BJ Bowers gets it into, or at least on the outskirts of the red zone, as Bowers, no one really accounting for him on the perimeter. And now set up just outside of the red zone here. 1st and 10 from the 26. Stephen Rogers once again will pass the football, but that is going to actually be intercepted by Tyler Robertson, who is going to get his first career interception against Stephen Rogers. Looking for the true freshman bred Drowsy. However, Norfolk State, they can't do anything with the football. The score does remain tied, and eventually, James Madison, they're going to get that passing attack going now, as that was Jody Gentry, who ends up outrunning the entirety of the defense, got behind the safeties, as for some reason those safeties were cheating up just a little too much, and it's 7-0 now. Later in the game, McNair, he's going to throw it right, trying to throw it into double coverage. That is going to end up being intercepted by Dante Bonelli. That's going to be the 6th career interception for the young corner, as PJ McNair making that ill-advised throw. You absolutely hate to see it. And now James Madison takes over. 1st and 10 from the 47. All day to throw. Fires a missile right over the middle of the field. It's Jody Gentry once again. It was cover 2. And Jody Gentry runs right down the middle of the field. Nobody there to cover him. It's 14-0 now. As now, Norfolk State trying to get that rushing attack going. It's not J.C. Samuel that gets to carry, but his backup is going to fumble the ball there as well. Another turnover for James Madison right there, as that is not what you needed, but we're able to get the ball loose. And again, another short field for the James Madison Dukes, as we see BJ Bowers takes it loose and gonna dive in to the end zone. Touchdown, James Madison. 21-0 being your score now. And while it's not the complete blowout that I thought it was going to be, we are starting to see James Madison really assert itself in this football game. Brad Drowsy, by the way, had a really great block in the end zone too. As now, still 21-0. Trying to get some additional points before we go into the halftime locker room. But tight end, the crumb bucket, he's going to fumble the ball. As we know, it's actually the fullback that got it. He still fumbled the football though. Norfolk State, they still could not manage to amass any points despite that. So that was probably their best chance to get points there. They still can't do it. It's still 24-0. And now we're finally seeing some David Foreign highlights. He was the person that was specifically checked out at the beginning of the game. And now we're seeing him go to work. He's had 1,600 total yards on the year. And that is going to help James Madison put this game away ultimately. Dukes, not as impressive as I thought it was going to be. Maybe it's Norfolk State getting better as a football program, but James Madison, they still end up winning by 30+ points in this one. 31-0 going to be your final score, as James Madison will continue to roll on as the number 3 team in all college football. Speaking of top 25, we got a top 25 matchup here in the Sun Belt Conference. We got Arkansas State, the number 24 team in the nation, going to Johnny Red Floyd Stadium in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, to take on the number 18 ranked Mid-Tennessee State Blue Raiders, as we got a battle for Sun Belt Conference supremacy. As right now we are right in the thick of Sun Belt Conference action. Everybody plays everybody. A little bit of round robin action. And Mid-Tennessee State, as of right now, they do have a 1.5 game lead over Arkansas State. And a big reason for that is David Jones. He has been a certified man for the Blue Raiders of Mid-Tennessee State. And they're going to be tested by Arkansas State, who works its way into the top 25. Late in the first quarter, literally the last play of the first quarter, Arkansas State, they're going to get the punt. And wait a minute now, we got some space on the outside, and it's going to finally break the goose egg that we have on the scoreboard right now. 7-0 being your score after just one quarter of action. And then next possession for Mid-Tennessee State, it's another possession that does not come down with any points. We even see the punt returner muff the punt and is still able to get the touchdown. Maybe we want to try to avoid doing those directional punts, you know, what say you, right? But Arkansas State with the early lead, trying to really dominate this game. But then Mid-Tennessee State, right before the first half, they do get the fumble And while they might not get a touchdown, we'll have to see what happens on the next drive. Okay, so they do settle for the field goal. Getting 3 points your way instead of it being 24-3, that's a really big deal. Sets up a potential mid-Tennessee State comeback here in the second half as we finally see this offense go to work. Nice throw in the back of the end zone, and that will make it just a 4-point game. But can they also finish in the red zone? They got down here a couple of times, but they had to settle for field goals. That's even worse than a field goal, as that is going to be a turnover instead. So instead of just a few points, they end up getting no points whatsoever, and Arkansas State does keep their lead as midway through the third quarter after the turnover. Facing pressure, there's a fumble. Mid-Tennessee State recovers, and we got a big boy touchdown. Now the Blue Raiders have the lead, and Johnny Red Floyd Stadium is going absolutely wild right now. Here we go. Arkansas State. Do they got a second gear? Dropping back. Got some time. Looks downfield, and it's intercepted. Mid-Tennessee State, they just might do it. This win right there could make sure that they win the Sun Belt and really put them in an amazing spot right now to go forth and win, or at least get yourself into the FCS playoffs, man. You never know what can happen. But later on in the fourth quarter, Mid-Tennessee State, they couldn't score, so it's still just a field goal. Get a little slant pattern, but it's fumbled again. Another turnover here for Arkansas State. What are we doing? Arkansas State really trying to fumble the bag right now, and despite all of this, Mid-Tennessee State, they can't put the game away either. And now, here we go. Arkansas State, they get another chance. This time, minute 30 left to play, and it's going to be cut. Touchdown, Red Wolves. And Arkansas State, they are going to take the lead with 90 seconds left to play in the football game. You love to see it if you're an Arkansas State guy. And Mid-Tennessee State, one last chance to try to get victory from the jaws of defeat, but it's just not meant to be. Mid-Tennessee State, they had their fair share of chances to win this football game. I mean, Mid-Tennessee State, prior to that interception, they were dominating the turnover battle. And they're still going to be +2. But Arkansas State, when it mattered the most, they made the plays that were needed to be made. And Arkansas State, they escape here in Johnny Red Floyd Stadium. They are going to pull the upset against Mid-Tennessee State and win this football game by a final score of 31-20. An exciting game. Both teams still have the possibility of going to the FCS playoffs, depending on what happens around the FCS and if these two teams take care of the business that they need to take care of in order to make sure that they get that trip to the FCS playoffs when we get to the final of year 3 regular season action. So for the final game that we got on tap is a top 25 matchup once again, and this is actually the game of the week. We got North Dakota State, number 5 in the country, taking on the Sacramento State Hornets, who just entered the top 25 as well, and this is a game with massive implications. Winner of this game is going to sit in first place of the Pac-10 Conference. If Sacramento State wins, they already have the victory against Weber State earlier this season. So, all that being considered, if they can take care of business here, North Dakota State, they're not going to be winning that conference championship this time around. So, we'll see if Lee Corso works with, and Lee Corso, they do pick North Dakota State. So here we go. Backup quarterback is in as their starter, Corey Hall, is hurt. So we're going to take a real good look at sophomore custom Tyler Murray, who's going to try to lead this upset against the North Dakota State Bison. And Murray starts off going to the top receiver. It's Jacob Hill, the true freshman. He is in the end zone, and Sacramento State, they are actually going to take the lead in the first 90 seconds of this ball game. When Tyler Murray gets time, he is more than capable of making plays. He was a 4-star coming out of high school, And here's the thing too, North Dakota State, early on, they had a really hard time running up against this South Sacramento State front. So golden opportunity for the Hornets here to come out, get some additional points on the board. But that doesn't happen. And what we ended up seeing throughout the course of the game is that we end up seeing North Dakota State literally field goal them to get to dev. So they're at 11 points now because of the also the safety that we saw from Tyler Murray because he couldn't get out of the end zone. So North Dakota State has 11 points. They have 3 field goals and they have this safety as well. And North Dakota State, they end up putting in yet another field goal. Really not much happening here in the game of the week, but North Dakota State, despite the fact that they had not scored a single touchdown, they still find a way to win this game anyways. And that's just really devastating to see because Sacramento State, they really had an opportunity to win this game all the way up to the end. But, you know, 7 points is just not enough to beat North Dakota State. And we saw that there, the Bison in control of the Pac-10 Conference. Now, before we go ahead and jump into, you know, the newest top 25 poll, the newest Heisman race, newest Player of the Week updates potentially, wanted to check out some other games that happened at 8 p.m. game event we didn't get a chance to watch. First and foremost, we got Western Carolina taking on Alabama A&M. Catamounts, they're continuing to take care of business. Even with the NCAA sanctions, they're not bothered by any of it. They win by 32 against Alabama A&M. And that's going to get them to 7-2 and possibly get them on the door to be a top 5 team in the country when it's all said and done. Now, another top 25 team that did end up playing as well at the 8 o'clock slate, we had New Mexico State. They hosted St. Thomas, and St. Thomas, they've had some good moments. We saw them pull a big upset, I believe, back in year number 2, but it wasn't it for the Tommies. They got crushed in this one. New Mexico State did not play around. 59-6 ends up being the final score. It was never in doubt as the Aggies improved to 7-1 here on the season, while St. Thomas is going to fall to 2-6. And then finally, we got San Diego State. They played on the road against Denver, and while Denver, you know, they didn't embarrass themselves by any means, they're going to fall to 3-6 here, falling to the number 2 team in the nation as San Diego State improves to 10-0 here. One more win, and they will have a perfect season here within the regular season. But now we just have 3, maybe 4 weeks tops in the regular season, and looks like Sports Illustrated giving some love to James Madison. Good win against Norfolk State. They're going to say a bad moon rising, but I wouldn't call them much of a surprise. They've been ranked pretty highly regarded throughout the course of this season. As we go ahead and check out the top 25 polls, see what's going on. No movement here. Nobody has moved from their spots, not only within the top 10, but really in like the top 15 that we haven't really seen any movement. As we're seeing what the top 25 poll says, first 17 spots, everyone's in the same spot. But in that bottom portion of the top 25 polls, things are a little bit different. We see Idaho moves up 1 spot, so does Sam Houston State, even though they did end up going ahead and, you know, not playing the game. Arkansas State, they move up to 20. They're in a nice position to make it to the FCS playoffs. UCF keeps itself alive in the top 25. Nicholls State gets a little bit of buffer after their overtime victory against Texas State last week. Then we also got a couple of newcomers. Utah State, they're back in the top 25 after a 14-point win against Oral Roberts. And then Weber State as well after their win against Eastern Washington. They're back in the top 25. So all 3 teams that have received probations last offseason, they're in this top 25 poll. Meanwhile, Sacramento State, their tough loss to North Dakota State, they're not going to get punished too much for it. And I like this call. Sacramento State, 6-3. Win your next couple of games. You should be into the FCS playoffs. No problems, even though you may find yourself not having the ability to make, win your conference championship, right? But here's what the other receiving votes is looking at right now. Eastern Illinois, right on the outside, number 26. North Carolina A&T, they're also in there. South Carolina State, they played New Hampshire tough for a while, and then they pulled away in the 4th quarter. And then UMass is also receiving votes. They're sitting there number 20, or at least not number 20, but 20 votes for the UMass Minutemen. So definitely a tightening playoff field that is still going to be resolved here, as some of these teams are going to be playing their last 2 free games of the season. And then we also take a look at the Heisman Trophy watch to see what we got going on. Ryan Vaughn still leads the way here. He looked good in their game against Denver, but then Ikeda Woods is hanging tough. Junior red shirt hanging there in there as well. 250 yards of rushing in their win against Southeast Louisiana. Sitting there number 2 on the list, but then after these 2 quarterbacks, there's a little bit of a gap. We got Michael Williams in here. Michael Williams just hit 1,000 yards receiving on the season, and he is going to move up to 3rd place in the Heisman watch. Definitely the same stats that he put up in his first 2 years, and he is up to a 95 overall, so it should be a very good prospect to watch out for the NFL draft. We also got Terrence Jones, the senior quarterback from Akron. He also moves up to number 4 after a good win against Western Illinois. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, very good performance. But then David Foran moves down to number 5. He was actually a little bit on the quiet side in that game against Norfolk State, but he still scored a touchdown that he did end up contributing in the punt return game. But guys, next episode, we will keep the FCS regular season going as we get into the final month of action. And we're going to get some questions answered in terms of who's going for those conference championships, who's going to put themselves in a good spot for an at-large bid to the FCS playoffs. So ultimately decide who wins the national championship here in year number 3. It's been a fun series, and it's been a fun episode, of course. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button if you do happen to be brand new. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.